You ever get a paper cut and have that fleeting thought, why don't I just keep bleeding? I mean, really? Well, in those few seconds it takes you to even process the sting and look for a bandage, your body has already launched this incredible high-speed emergency response. It's a microscopic drama, and we're about to dive right in. Right. It's a story we all know. A simple cut, a sudden breach in our defenses, that's where it all begins. Not in some fancy lab, but with a totally normal everyday injury. But that simple moment is the trigger for this massive cascade of events. We're talking billions of cells, all happening in just a few seconds. It's absolutely mind-blowing when you think about it. So what is the very first thing that happens? Okay, I want you to think of this like a microscopic crime scene investigation. An alarm goes off, and this highly specialized team of first responders gets dispatched to the scene, like instantly, to contain the situation. So let's set the scene. A cut isn't just a hole in your skin. On a cellular level, it's a critical breach in your vascular system. The sterile, super-contained world inside your blood vessels is suddenly exposed to the outside, and that requires an immediate, powerful, and highly coordinated response. And here is our first responder, the platelet. Now, these guys aren't even full cells. They're anucleate, which just means they don't have a nucleus. They're just these tiny 2 to 4 micron fragments that are always circulating quietly, kind of like a patrol car, just constantly on the lookout for any signs of trouble in the super smooth highways of your blood vessels. And when I say patrol force, I mean it. This is not a small team. In a single liter of your blood, you have somewhere between 150 and 400 billion of these platelets on standby, ready to spring into action. Your body is prepared for this kind of emergency, 24/7. It's incredible. And these platelets, they come fully equipped. Think of them like tiny emergency responders with a standard issue utility belt. They've got alpha granules, which are packed with backup supplies like von Willebrand factor and fibrinogen. They also have dense granules, which are basically emergency flares, releasing chemicals like ADP and calcium to call for help. And maybe most importantly, their surface is covered in these specialized receptors, which are, for all intents and purposes, molecular grappling hooks in handcuffs. Okay, so we've got billions of these highly equipped first responders just cruising around. The next big question is, in a system as fast as your bloodstream, how on earth do they find the exact location of the injury? And even more important, how do they stop on a dime? Well, the first clue at the crime scene is a protein called von Willebrand factor, or VWF for short. You can think of it as molecular crime scene tape. It's actually always floating around in your blood plasma, but here's the clever part. It only becomes active and sticky right where the damage has occurred. And this is just brilliant. It shows you the transformation. Normally, VWF is just circulating as this folded up, balled up protein, totally inert. But when a vessel wall is damaged, it latches on to the exposed tissue underneath. Then the actual physical force of blood rushing past it literally unravels the protein, transforming it into this long, sticky string, just waiting to snag a passing platelet. So let's walk through this incredible high-speed grapple. First, the injury exposes a material called collagen that's normally hidden under the vessel wall. Second, that VWF crime scene tape immediately sticks to the collagen and unrolls. Then, and this is the moment, a specific receptor on the platelet surface called GPIB-alpha, our grappling hook, latches right onto that VWF string. And just like that, a platelet is yanked out of the fast-flowing blood and brought to a dead stop, right at the site of the injury. Now, once that first platelet is on the scene, its mission completely changes. It's no longer just about stopping. It's about holding the line and immediately calling for backup to build a barricade. And this all happens with explosive speed. We're talking less than a second after adhering, the platelet completely changes shape, going from a smooth disc to a spiky, super sticky sphere. About a second after that, it fires off its emergency flares, releasing the contents of its dense granules, like ADP, which acts as a powerful chemical bat signal, calling all other platelets to the scene. This leads us to the next critical phase, platelet aggregation. This is the process of all those recruited platelets sticking to each other. Now, they aren't just piling up in a random mess. They are actively linking together to form a temporary, but absolutely vital, plug to stop the leak. And to do this, they have to use a different piece of gear from their utility belt. The key tool here is another surface receptor called GPIIB/3A.
So, if the first receptor was a grappling hook to catch the vessel wall, this one acts like molecular handcuffs, designed specifically to link one platelet to another. So here's how that plug gets built. The activation process flips a switch, making those GPII3A handcuffs available on the platelet surface. Then, another protein that's always floating in the blood, called fibrinogen, acts as a bridge, literally connecting the handcuffs of two different platelets. This creates a chain link network, and a plug of interconnected platelets rapidly seals the breach. This entire process is this perfectly choreographed molecular dance. It's beautiful. So what happens when a dancer misses a step? Understanding the failures of the system is actually one of the best ways to understand its brilliance. Let's look at what happens when the gear fails. In von Willebrand disease, which is the most common inherited bleeding disorder, the sticky tape, that VWF, is either faulty or missing. So platelets just can't make that crucial first attachment. Then you have a much rarer condition, Bernard's-Saulier syndrome. Here, the grappling hook itself, that GPIB alpha receptor, is broken. The tape is there, but the platelets have no way to grab onto it. And what if the team just can't link up? Well, a defect in those molecular handcuffs, the GPIB3A receptor, causes a condition called Glanzmann's thrombosenia. In this case, platelets can stick to the injury just fine, but they can't stick to each other to build the plug. It just goes to show you, every single step is absolutely critical. And that's really the heart of it. As Dr. Davy puts it, it is an explosive activation. The very act of one platelet becoming active triggers a cascade that activates more and more platelets around it. It's what's called a feed-forward mechanism that just amplifies itself, and it has to happen incredibly fast for very obvious reasons. So within minutes, this army of microscopic first responders has done its job. They've successfully contained the breach. They've adhered, they've activated, and they've aggregated to form a plug, stopping the bleed. But the job isn't quite done yet. Right, this initial plug is absolutely crucial, but it's not strong enough to hold up for the long term. It's kind of like putting up temporary barriers at a crime scene. So what's next? Well, that's when the body calls in the construction crew, the coagulation cascade, to weave a fibrin mesh, a kind of biological rebar, to build a truly permanent solution. But that's a whole other story for another explainer.